What's up, Buncombe? It's Abby, and today we are here with Bruce O'Connell, who's running for County Commissioner of District 2. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Abby, thanks.
Raise a flag of liberty, the land of the free, rejecting tyranny.
Good. We're so happy to have you here. So first of all, our viewers want to know, who is Bruce O'Connell?
Bruce O'Connell's just like you. I'm a neighbor. I live here. I've lived in Buncombe for 45 years. I have a business. And like everybody else, I'm a little tired of what's going on locally, and I decided to try to make a difference and run for county commission.
Awesome. So what are your top 3 priorities if elected into office?
My priorities are really what matters most to most of the people in Buncombe County. Safety and security, affordability and taxes, education, and infrastructure. Those are the things that matter most.
So could you elaborate a little bit on your mission? You know, I see you talk about infrastructure. So what resonates to you most about that?
Well, when you look at the budget, you can see that the money has been spent unwisely. We've not put aside money to maintain the infrastructure. It's obvious when you look at the freezing water pipes of a winter or so ago. It's obvious when you look at the roads, when you look at the Thomas Wolfe Auditorium, when you look at the parking decks. Our infrastructure is crumbling. It has not been managed correctly. Now, as a business person, I know how important it is to look to the future, put money aside, and make sure you're prepared for the what-ifs that'll certainly happen one day in the future.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to affordability and taxes, there's a lot of money being wasted on things that we don't need. Buncombe County has a tendency to spend money on what they want, but not what they need. In my opinion, what we have in Buncombe County is a spending disease. And if I get elected, I'm going to do everything I can to cure that disease. Also, with regard to taxes, higher taxes, I believe no local resident should have to worry about being taxed out of their home. And that can be accomplished by simply putting a cap on property taxes for local residents. It's been done before in other states, and we need to do it here.
Yeah.
As far as safety and security, well, I'm a firm supporter in law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS. That should be a priority in the budget. Finally, look at the quality of our education. Look at the quality and the caliber of the students we're producing. We are not teaching the basics. We are teaching some liberal agenda that seems to focus on identity politics more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. And if I have anything to say about it, our educational curriculum will be revised, and we will go back to teaching the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, civics, history, science. Then we'll worry about things like band and arts after we get the basics first. So those are the things that my constituents have told me matters most to them. That's what I'm going to focus on. Things like DEI, things like reparations, things like giving money to the Blue Ridge Pride organization, things like that. Well, they may be nice, and the commission may want to do that, but we don't have the money.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We've got to focus on what we need, not what we want.
So I understand that Merriman has had a bike lane for about a year now, and now they're wanting to expand it. So can you tell us a little about what your thoughts are on that?
I don't know if you've driven around Buncombe County lately, but the traffic is terrible.
Yeah.
We don't need less lanes of traffic for cars. That's only going to make the traffic worse. I'm all in favor of many ways of transportation, bike riding, walking. I'm all in favor of that. But let's remember something. There's a lot of cars out there. We have to have roads. Let's also remember that we have a winter here in Buncombe County, and a lot of people can't ride bikes in the winter and can't walk in the winter. So we need to be concerned now about what matters most. Drive around, get on the interstate, get on the roads, and tell me if you think we need less lanes.
So they're going to expand these bike lanes now to Patton Avenue. Do you agree with this, or what are your thoughts?
I absolutely do not agree with it. Listen to what I'm saying. Look at the traffic problems we have now. Can you imagine having less lanes for cars? Can you imagine what the traffic situation will be if we take away lanes of traffic? It makes no sense.
So now turning to safety, because I'd like to hit on each of the points you just made. We're being told that Buncombe County is a lot safer than you and I know it is. So what are your thoughts on that, and what are you going to do to help make it safer?
I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS. I believe money needs to be allocated in the budget to make sure they're trained and they're equipped. I believe we need to raise salaries for local law enforcement as well. Let's face it, who would want that job? You risk your life every day for a paltry salary. It's not right. The present city council and county commission seems to be anti-police. You've heard the term defund the police, reimagine the police. Where does that come from? When I call the police, I want them to come right away, and I will do anything I can do to make sure they are funded properly. Now, as far as crime in the area goes, I think it's obvious that the crime statistics can be altered based on what numbers you look at, but one thing's for sure, violent crime is up. They've even said that lately. Violent crimes such as murders and assaults are up. I don't believe crime is down, and I believe we need to take steps to enforce laws. There need to be consequences for actions, and people need to be put in jail and serve time if they break the law. There's got to be consequences for actions when it comes to crime. There's got to be consequences for actions in school. When students get out of hand, they need to be disciplined, and they need to know that bad behavior won't be tolerated. It's common sense.
So now turning to tourism, as a business owner yourself, how do you view that tourism is being affected by the crime rates in Buncombe County?
Well, tourism is the number one driver in this economy. It's very important. Tourism is slightly down now, and it's down because people are getting afraid to come to this area because of the reputation it's got. I can tell you that there's a tourism development authority that generates millions of dollars every year that they use to bring in more tourists. Well, I believe that it's great to encourage more tourists to come to the area with those dollars, but it's more important now to take those dollars and use them to supplement the budget, the tax dollars, to redo the infrastructure. It's the tourists that are using a lot of our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges. The Tourism Development Authority money needs to pull back on attracting more tourists for a moment, and needs to take some of that money and use it on infrastructure, the very infrastructure that the tourists need and expect when they come to the area. Now, there's a law that says only 2/3 of the money from the TDA can be used for certain things and 1/3 for other things. That law can be changed if the county commission was to fight hard enough for it. You see, we have sources of revenue in this county. The biggest source of revenue is property taxes, but another big source of revenue is that Tourism Development Authority tax, that 6% tax. That money needs to be spent on other things besides just bringing more tourists to the area. It needs to be spent on improving the very infrastructure that those tourists need, use, and expect.
So how do you feel about the city's debt program?
Well, as a business person, I understand what it means to go into debt. If you've got to make large capital improvements, you borrow money, but you make sure that you're able to pay that money back with revenue generated from the investment. It can be done. However, the way the county borrows money, it's a deal with the devil. These general obligation bonds, as they call them, are really taxing away your future, because the county knows that if they can't pay the loan back, the general obligation bond process requires that they raise your taxes to pay it back. Wow. These bonds, these loans are a deal with the devil. We are in way too much debt. Right now, we're $347 million in debt. Right now, they want to borrow $80 million more. There's no place for that kind of debt in a county this size. I wouldn't borrow that much money at my business, and our county should not be borrowing that much more money right now.
So everyone knows around here that Asheville has a big problem with affordable housing. What are your thoughts on that?
We do have a problem with affordable housing, and unfortunately, the regulations that builders are required to adhere to make it very difficult to build affordably here. I believe we can cut those regulations and still maintain safe construction. Do you know that if you want to build a home in the county and you apply for a septic permit, it can take 14 to 16 weeks to get a permit to put in a septic system.
Wow.
It is way too long, and time is money. Also, we all know that the geography here makes it expensive to build. There's not a lot of available, easily buildable land. Well, part of the problem is that you need sewer. I believe that in some of the outlying areas along the corridors where we're going to develop, we should increase sewer and water, which will in turn make all the areas that are now used for septic fields buildable. Now, I'm a believer in preserving farmland, forests, the views, the open spaces, but along these designated corridors, which have already been mapped out, where development will happen in the future, we need to make sure we offer sewer and water so that land is not unnecessarily tied up with septic fields that prohibit building. Water and sewer, that's part of infrastructure, but not at the expense of preserving green spaces.
So going back to those general obligation bonds we talked about a second ago, what would you say to your constituents about those, as those are going to appear on the ballot in November?
In November, the voters are going to have a choice as to whether to borrow another $80 million. If they were to ask me what I think, I'd say absolutely not, don't do it. We're in too much debt now. It's going to make your taxes go up, no doubt about it. We don't need to borrow money, and we don't need to spend money on everything we want. We need to concentrate on the things we need. No more debt right now. Let's work our way out of debt first.
So I don't know if you've seen it, but last year's school scores came out, and 70% of Asheville and Buncombe schools are failing. I understand that the Board of Commission has a very hands-off approach to education, but when you get elected, how are you going to ensure that we further education in this community?
There's a limit to what the county commission can do about education. A lot of the mandates come from the state. However, the county commission does approve the budget. And the county commission can also impact things like capital improvements. No child would want to go to a school that's falling down, has broken air conditioners, things like that. So capital improvements is a part of the budget that the county commissioners approve. Further, the county commissioners can give supplemental pay to teachers, and that might help improve the quality of the teachers we have in Buncombe County. Also, I believe the county commission can work with the local school board and promote a back to basics curriculum push. We need to get back to basics in the schools. We need to get students back in the public schools. They've got to want to go to public schools because the buildings are beautiful, the grounds are nice, the teachers are qualified, and the curriculum teaches the kids how to succeed in life when they graduate. And that translates into reading, writing, arithmetic, science, civics, social studies, the basics. We do not need anything else to be taught to our students right now. As an employer, I see the caliber of the kids coming out of school these days. And like you said, the proficiency level is very low right now. There's no excuse for it. And we can make it better. You know, Buncombe County wasn't always like this. I've lived here 45 years. When I first got here, Buncombe County was not like it is today. And Buncombe County does not need to be like this in the future. It all boils down to leadership in government.
Yep.
And what we've got is a groupthink, one way of doing it, local county commission and city council. There is no opposing views. There is no dissension. It's my way or the highway. Groupthink is bad. Monopolies are bad. They're bad for business and they're bad for government. We've got to get some diversity into our local government. They talk about diversity. Well, I'm sorry. There's no diversity at all in the city council. There's no diversity at all on the county commission. I want politics to bring people together, not divide us. That's why I'm unaffiliated. I don't want to be labeled. I want to be a person that makes politics work for everybody. Common sense, back to basics. That's the answer.
So lately we're seeing a lack of trade jobs, you know, the plumbers, the electricians, the HVAC technicians. What would you do to work with local businesses to create apprenticeships for kids coming out of high school or maybe even in high school that want to start these jobs?
I've been in business here for 45 years. We are facing a disaster with the shortage of tradesmen. Try to get a plumber, try to get a mason, try to get an electrician, try to get any tradesperson to come out and fix something. It's getting more and more difficult. These people are more valuable to me than computer programmers and techies. We need them. What we need to do is teach kids in high school and junior high school, they all don't need to go to college to make a good living. These trades jobs pay a lot nowadays, and we need them. I believe not only should it be focused on in high school and junior high school, but also at the community college level. There needs to be an apprentice program set up where local businesses allow people that want to learn a trade to work with the business, get paid, but also learn on the job. I know in my business, I would certainly teach anybody and pay them at the same time if they wanted to learn the hotel and restaurant business. I would be happy to do it. Our future is in peril right now. Very soon, we're going to have nobody that knows how to fix anything. And we'd better wake up or everything is going to break and there'll be nobody around to fix it.
So Bruce, thanks so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you coming.
I was happy to do it, Abby. Thank you very much. And I hope the people of Buncombe County can reach out to me with their questions. And I hope they'll understand that if I get on the county commission, I will bring common sense, fiscal conservancy to the budget process, and I will try to make politics bring people together to the best of my ability. As I said earlier, politics should bring us together, not divide us.
Absolutely. Could you let us know where to find you, where to contact you?
My website is bruceoconnell.com. I have a Facebook page, and of course, I can be reached at my email, which is bruce@bruceoconnell.com.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing all the things you're going to do and voting for you in November.
Thank you, Abby, very much. Bye.
Thank you.